So Roadhouse, this version that just came out this year, it is a remake of the 1989 Roadhouse movie starring Patrick Swayze. And Roadhouse is a movie that I haven't properly watched until I watched this new one. I decided to watch both of them back to back. I always caught scenes of the old Roadhouse on cable, and I think that that's really where the 1989 version's popularity kind of exploded, was the fact that it was a movie that just kind of played on cable a lot. It was a movie that would always come out, and if you came out or if you were around when it came out in the 80s, you probably grew a love and an affinity for it. But I think a lot of people probably discover it just due to the reruns on cable that it experienced all throughout the years. But fast forward all these years later, and they have decided to go ahead and remake Roadhouse. And I remember seeing this trailer a few months ago, actually, and being pretty excited about it. Jake Gyllenhaal, one of my favorite actors, really enjoy the work that he does. I think that he is one of our most unusual, yet also like interesting actors. Like the roles that he takes on, you can never really predict like where he's going to go. But anytime he's in something, I make it a point to check it out. And I wanted to go ahead and watch Roadhouse this weekend, of course, being excited for it. And I got to say, not a great movie. Roadhouse is not great at all. I was actually pretty let down by what I saw here. I think it's at times it's actually it's actively bad even. And this is again, taking it with a grain of salt for the fact that I did just watch the original in full properly. And what I think is admirable about the 89 movie is that it actively knows that it's a B movie. This is not meant to be something that changes the world. Like Roadhouse is not. That's not The English Patient. It's not Citizen Kane. It's meant to just be a fun, good time. It's a bunch of men beating each other up, beating the shit out of each other, at this new Roadhouse bar. And I think that there's something charming about that. I'm a little biased towards 80s movies, but I think that there's so much that's working for it, and a certain element of charm and self-awareness in that movie and longevity that makes it work. And not only that, I mean, Patrick Swayze, he's one of the most charismatic movie stars we've really ever had. Like, the guy wasn't in a ton of stuff necessarily, but the movies that he led, there's nobody really like Patrick Swayze. There's nobody with his energy, with his charisma. The guy is a one of one, and so it's unfortunately we lost him a few years ago. And now with this one, Jake Gyllenhaal, again, somebody I'm interested in. He's playing a different type of leading man in this movie. He's a different type of movie star altogether, and he has a different type of energy. And I don't have a problem with that. I actually kind of enjoyed what he brought here. There's similar characteristics. It's a guy who's like a cowboy that shows up into a town. He has a dark past. He's responsible for the death of somebody. You don't really know that much about him, but he does have a reputation. He brings all of that over from the Patrick Swayze interpretation of the Dalton character into this movie. That still is there. Overall, what I just don't like about this movie is the fact that it's nowhere near as fun. It's boring to me at many points in time in the course of the film. And what I found the most egregious is that it isn't really about the Roadhouse itself. Like, the thing about the first movie is that, like, it's about Patrick Swayze's character Dalton building the Roadhouse in his image, hiring the new people, firing the people that don't work. He's ushering in a new era for the Roadhouse and establishing his order. It's like a new cowboy coming into the town as the new sheriff, almost taking over. And they don't really have any of that here. Like, the Roadhouse is not even secondary. It might be just like a tertiary thing in this film. And that was just so weird and strange to me. Also, the romance that he has here with Daniela Melchior's character. There's a romance in the first one. He has a romance here as well. It's almost, a nothing romance. We don't really know anything about her. We don't learn anything about her. It's kind of a waste of her talent and her potential because they don't take it far enough to really allow us as an audience to develop a connection for them. So I found that disappointing. And then ultimately, the fighting, it just didn't do anything for me. There was a lot of CGI used in the fighting, which this is hand-to-hand combat. This is not like over-the-top Matrix Reloaded shit. Like, this is supposed to be close quarters, hand-to-hand combat, and there's just weird placement and usage of CGI. It's almost as if the actors never had contact with each other. Like, there was never any contact made with the punches, which in reality, you're not supposed to make contact, but you're supposed to make it look real enough as if contact does connect. But they do some weird CGI tricks where you can just easily tell where the camera is and where the fists and the punches get pulled back, or I don't even know how to communicate it because it just feels off. It just feels so strange to me, and I don't understand the choices why. I know that they tried to do some interesting camera tricks here. that stuff just felt like a distraction. You know, I just want a long take of hand-to-hand combat. I just want the action to look crisp and clean and realistic. I want it to feel hard hitting like a John Wick movie, and it never feels like that. You know, it feels really manufactured, really choreographed, and I didn't enjoy it. And you know, Conor McGregor's in this movie. He's a rambunctious fucking clown version of himself. He's basically playing a version of himself in this movie.
Yes.
The guy is, I mean, he's not a good actor, but it's Conor. He's doing himself, essentially. And so if you enjoy Conor as a personality, you'll probably enjoy him being a sociopathic maniac in this film, but he's not a great actor. He's pretty bad to me in this movie. And, you know, some people out there, they might say like, well, just enjoy it, just have fun with it. It's not taking itself serious. And that's all true. Like, it knows it's not supposed to be a serious movie, but you know, I don't think we even get B movies anymore. I don't even know if that's like a genre that's actively being tackled and addressed right now. I don't even know if we can achieve that just due to the landscape of streaming and theatrical.
Exactly.
And also I think that if I'm being honest, and this is an interesting thing about just the rollout of the movie, if this came out in theaters and if I saw it in theaters, I feel like I probably would have enjoyed it more. I know Doug Liman had a lot of conflict and a lot of head-to-head with Amazon and apparently Jeff Bezos. Like, he really wanted this to go theatrical. He made it for theatrical. They did not have that. They did not want that. They put it directly to streaming. There were a lot of critics and a lot of people who got a chance to see this ahead of time in theaters at South by Southwest where it premiered, got a lot of positive reactions. I feel like on a Friday night in the movie theater with a beer in my hand, I would have had a good time. Like, fuck it, I'm here. Like, why not? It's fine. I'm not expecting too much out of it, but watching it at home on Prime Video, I don't feel like that's the optimal way to watch it. So, yeah, maybe I would have enjoyed it more, but in the way that they delivered it to us, this is a huge, huge step down. I'll just stick with Patrick Swayze. I'll stick with the original, and that's the one I'll watch from now on.
Man, I've never even seen the original. What's funny is the only time I have ever really, the reference I know Roadhouse is Family Guy. Like, he would like kick people, and then he would say Roadhouse. Like, afterwards, every time. That's the only...
that's the movie.
That's actually the only place that I really have heard of or have a connection to Roadhouse. But man, that's too bad. I don't know if it was this set, but I recently heard Jake Gyllenhaal was being like weird on one of these sets. Is it this one? I don't know. I heard
there were rumors. I don't think it's been confirmed. There were rumors. Is it tied to the Rebecca Ferguson comments that she made? Because she talked about a movie star that she worked with that mistreated her, was a dick and an asshole to her. And basically people took her comments and they sort of did a process of elimination because she was obviously talking about a guy, and people said like, well, it can either be Dwayne Johnson, it can be Jake Gyllenhaal, or it can be Michael Fassbender. Somebody like got it down to those three. And The Rock came out and he was like, oh, whoever did this, he was like, whoever did this, I want to come after them. Like, she's my angel. I love working with her. And a lot of people thought it might have been Jake because, you know, Jake has an aura about him. I mean, we don't know Jake, but he seems like a bit of a serious guy, like who takes things very. I mean, speaking of taking things seriously and being a little, I mean, he was fucking jacked in this movie. That's one thing I will give him credit for. He was juiced to the gills. The guy was in incredible shape in this movie. I mean, he was chiseled out of stone because his past, which is also different from the original, is that he's an MMA fighter. He fought in UFC. That was not a plot point in the first movie, but he had to get in fighter shape for this movie, and he looked tremendous. But yeah, Jake is known to go to deep, dark places sometimes with his movies, but I don't know if it was him. I don't know if he was acting weird on sets or not. I can't verify.
Yeah, man, it's so interesting. But yeah, Prime Video has been trying, and they're hit or miss. You know, they're like up or down with their movies. But sad to hear this is a miss, especially with like most people still have heard Roadhouse before. You know what I'm saying? Like, even if you haven't seen the Patrick Swayze joint, most people have heard Roadhouse before. So yeah, even when you were talking about like the action in it, it made me feel like oh, was he watching like a Steven Seagal movie? You know what I'm saying? Because you could tell like that punch was weird looking. Oh, that punch was weird looking. Like, oh, was that what they were going for, or is they just missing completely? Maybe they haven't caught up with the time, or they weren't trying to. I don't know. That's really interesting. But yeah, it's too bad.
Yeah, all the fight scenes here, they look like they're just completely made up in a computer. It's a weird thing. I really just don't know how to describe it because I haven't necessarily seen it before. Like I mean, we've been doing fighting in movies for a long time. It seems like that there's like a tried and true formula to that, and they tried to do something different here. I'll never take that away from them, and I'll give them credit for that. But the CGI, the choices, I don't understand it. I don't get it. I hope to not see it in future action movies. It just didn't work for me. But folks, those are all of our thoughts on the brand new remake Roadhouse. If you check this out on Prime Video, hit us up and let us know what you think.